The night descends with shadows deep. In blood heaven, no souls asleep. The blood moon rises in crimson light, casting its light upon the night. Winds howl through the hollow trees, a whispering chant carried on the breeze. Under the blood moon, in Bloodhaven skies, darkness awakens and the dead arise. Wolves in the distance, the witch's song. In Bloodhaven streets the night belongs. Lanterns flicker, casting ghastly forms. In the cemetery something stirs and storms. The graves crack open, their secrets revealed. In Bloodhaven no fate is sealed. A chill creeps in through stone and bone, as spirits of the lost make their presence known. Under the blood moon, in Bloodhaven skies, darkness awakens and the dead arise. Wolves in the distance, the witch's song. In Bloodhaven streets the night belongs. Through cobble streets, footsteps fade, ghostly hands reach from the grave. No mercy here in the blood moon's glow. Bloodhaven's light is all you'll know. Under the blood moon, in Bloodhaven skies, darkness awakens and the dead arise. Wolves in the distance, the witch's song. In Bloodhaven streets the night belongs. Beneath the blood moon's gaze the shadows sway. In Bloodhaven's light the night will stay.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another Inner Sleuths live stream. Today we're going to be hopping into some more lore and gameplay features in and around Ashes of Creation. We have some interesting stuff to talk about today. The Harbingers updates have already started. They're looking to be completed hopefully by November 18th is when they're saying they're going to be able to deliver on this Harbinger update milestones. There's a lot of stuff here to unpack. A ton of in-game implications, meaning actual gameplay features, as well as a bunch of lore as well. Before we get into all of that, though, because we have some interviews to look over, a stream that they did, we have some images like you see right here, the timeline to look over, we have the wiki to peel through. There's quite a bit to go over. Make sure you share this with your friends so they do not miss this very important announcement. Some really, really cool gameplay features coming. It's not just lore. It's not like we're just sitting here talking about lore. I know that that's all fine and dandy, but a lot of people, they love to see how the lore is going to impact their actual gameplay. And that's what we're going to be going over today as well. Not just lore, actual hard gameplay. Great to see you guys all here today. We got Maven, we got Ya, W Sub, German 3D Printing Nerd, Crash. How's it going, buddy? We got Blimpy. Blimpy says just in time. You are just in time, Blimpy. We are just getting ready to kick this off. Ange, great to see you. Guys, share this with your friends. There's some really cool stuff here. If you know anyone who's interested in Ashes of Creation, send them my way. I'm going to be breaking down all kinds of lore and gameplay features, all sorts of things like that. We already have several streams already showing people how to play Ashes as a first experience for people. A lot of really great stuff. As always, I will be brutally honest with you guys. If something needs to be criticized, we'll criticize it. If something needs to be praised, we'll praise it. Just like with everything, I want you guys to have a really good picture and good idea of if this game's going to be for you. If this is something that you want to dive in on. We got Maharlika. We got Cad. Great to see you guys. Maharlika says, hey, Void. Hey, Maharlika. How's it going, brother? Cad says, hi, everyone. Great to see you, Cad. I'm happy that you guys are tuning in for this one because this is going to be a really fun one. This is going to be talking about all the updates and stuff that we're going to be getting leading up to the full release of Harbinger update milestone coming on November 18th. They've already started as of September 2nd. The servers will be going down. This is the nitty-gritty rundown for those of you who don't care about too much about the lore and stuff like that. The updates are going to be every Tuesday, 10 a.m. until they're done. The downtime may vary. They're very transparent with their downtime. They said, hey, listen, if we have to do hot fixes, we'll let you guys know about it, but we're going to do hot fixes. They've already done several rollbacks. Some people are a little, they're a little fired up about the rollbacks. I'm okay with rollbacks. Hey, we're going to be stuck in, I say stuck, we're going to be stuck in Alpha 2 Phase 3 for quite some time. I don't want it to become an unstable, buggy mess, right? So if they need to roll something back for stability, I'm on board with that. Roll it back. Take away the things that people found exploits and cheats to make it fair for everyone. Because if someone gains an unfair advantage this early on, it's going to mean that the rest of the experience is going to be tainted by that. And the rest of the data is going to be tainted by that. So I'm hoping they do wipes as necessary. I don't have a problem with that at all. Maven says the downside is it reset our progress for our settlement. Did it reset it all the way back down to 0? Like everyone's settlements went back to 0? I mean, honestly, I'm okay with that if that's what needed to happen. If other people were exploiting and cheating and their settlements were growing way too fast, like I'm okay with resetting that stuff. I don't see a problem with it. I mean, we're here to test stuff, right? At the end of the day, we're here to test everything, make sure that it's in a good state for at the end of the year when the game full releases, fingers crossed. Oh yeah, well, some didn't. So some settlements didn't revert? Or are you saying some settlements didn't cheat and exploit? Either way, I mean, if that's a byproduct, we have to reset. How far back did it reset? Do you know? I haven't been able to hop back in. I've been out of town for a couple days here, so I wasn't able to hop back in just yet to see our progress. Is everybody back to 0? Is that what happened? Because I know that there was some talk and some buzz about certain zones progressing way too fast. I mean, they did in days what was supposed to take months. So Maven says we didn't cheat or exploit, and it still reset ours. Did it reset it back to 0? That's the question. German 3D Printing Nerd says I uninstalled that game. You uninstalled Ashes? Why'd you uninstall Ashes? Didn't you just get it? Didn't you just get Ashes, Crash? And says it's only the percentage of the level that you're at that went to 0. Oh, okay. So whatever current phase you're in, it reset it back to 0, but only for the current stage. So we're still an encampment. We weren't that far past encampment. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check that out when I hop back in. I know some people are real fired up about it, but today we're going to be talking about Harbingers. This is the future content that's coming. These are very interesting dynamic zones, so to speak. We have a lot to cover today, but before we get into it all, Tanja is actually supposed to be paused right now. I forgot to pause that. But before we get into it, guys, if you're looking for an awesome community and you want to hang out with some awesome people and play fun games, not just Ashes, but every game out there that you can imagine pretty much, we play all kinds of stuff. We host servers for various different games. We have clans, guilds, orgs across a wide range of games, including Star Citizen, PAX Day. We have one of the biggest clans in PAX Day, although not too many people are playing PAX Day anymore, as its development process has been questionable, to say the least. I have a lot of podcasts and episodes covering that. If you guys would like to know more about PAXcast, make sure you check out the channel. But we have servers for all kinds of stuff, guilds, clans, orgs, for everything. German 3D Printing Nerd says, too darn hard to navigate. Move like with PAX, WASD. There are some key things that you need to change, Crash, in order to make the navigation easier. There's 2 different modes. I think the problem is that it doesn't hold your hand. There's a lot of features and things that you can toggle on and off. Like, for instance, turning on auto attack for me was one of the biggest things, and it's one simple little toggle. You really have a lot of power to be able to tweak the game to your desire. You can actually change a lot of the settings to make it play the way you want it to play. And I think that that's key. And that's why I always urge everyone to partake in the big groups that are playing. You know, whenever you see Ash's safe spawn right now is going on, we have Ash Hall. People are always in there playing the game, and you need to ask questions. You need to ask for help. You need to get those pointers and stuff like that, because it definitely does not hold your hand at all. It drops you in cold, and you float or you sink. But that's why I like to really, it's kind of like Star Citizen in that regard. You know, Star Citizen is very overwhelming when you first get into it, and people are inclined. I did it myself. Hell, I did it myself when I first got into it. I put the game down because it was very, very difficult to grasp. Once you get an understanding of it, though, it's actually really great. And knowing the games that you've played before Crash, I think you'll really like Ashes once you get the hang of it. You just need someone to hold your hand a little bit, to show you the ropes and whatnot. But yeah, I definitely turn on auto attack. And you can turn on or off combat mode by using the comma on the keyboard. A lot of really great intuitive controls, and you can actually change them. You love Star Citizen? Yeah, a lot of people love Star Citizen, but at first, a lot of people would have not given Star Citizen a chance because of its learning curve. And it's the same thing with Ashes. You really need to give it a chance with its learning curve. W Sub says, I think the 0% was because of the siege. I suspect bug. The only territory that didn't get put to 0 was the island. Interesting. Yeah, I heard that there was a lot of cheaty things going on with the siege. There was people exploiting and cheating, and that's a shame. You know, I would hope that they would find an issue and then report it and not exploit it for their own gain. But that's why these rollbacks and stuff need to take place, is because people are inclined through human nature to abuse such things. I always report these things when I find them. I don't abuse them, because it ruins the experience for everybody else. Blimpy says, and of course everyone should turn on invert y-axis. Well, the nice thing is you can turn that on. There's a lot of those features like that. W Sub says, hand-me-downs and crafting stuff in Guild Vault also. In our Guild Vault? Are you talking about exploits that people were using? Can you elaborate on that, W Sub? Also, I saw some subscriptions that came through before the stream actually went live, so thank you guys for that. If you are not yet subscribed, please consider clicking that subscribe button down below. It really helps the channel out. You guys can see all of my channel members that roll in the credits before and after my streams also, and you can see the stars next to their name. If you guys want to support my work, you can click that join button down below. Oh, that's Marok. Okay. Yeah, everyone has different names on YouTube and Twitch, and they have different names on Steam and on Discord and in-game, so it's hard to keep all of them straight. But all right, sounds good, Marok. Thank you very much for that. I'll definitely check that stuff out here. I'm going to be hopping on after I finish this stream. I'm going to get some food, stretch my legs, because it's going to be kind of a long one, I think. And then we're going to hop into Ashes and see what the situation looks like on the ground there. But great to have you. Thanks for tuning in. Share this with your friends, guys. If you'd like to join the Cheeky Buggers United, which is our greater community, you can type !Discord in chat, and it'll get you a link over to our Discord. If you'd like to apply to join our clan in Ashes or PAX Day, or for Star Citizen or Oregon Star Citizen, whatever it may be, you guys can head over to our website, www.cheekybugger.net, or just type !website at any point during my streams, and you'll get a link over to our website where you can fill out that application. There's people over on the Discord that can help with that stuff as well if you need help, if it's a little confusing for you, but it's basically just a forum. You just go on there and register and then submit your application under the applications section. And if you guys are thinking about getting into Ashes, I'm not here to sell you on anything. I don't want anyone getting into any game, no matter how much I love it, if it's not going to be for them. I'm not a shill. I'm not here to, pander to any company or anything like that. I want to just let you guys know the truth on all of these things. But if you're already going to be getting into Ashes, make sure you use my referral code. Type !Ashes. Same thing goes for Star Citizen. You can type !, I think it's Star Citizen, and you'll get referral codes to those games. And those do make a big difference for both games, especially Ashes. It's a pretty big deal, so make sure you use someone's referral code, so that way you don't miss out on any of that stuff there. W Sub says, me and Wolf did the POI in our territory, and they're super tough. Stealth, dodge, dash for 1.3 thousand damage. That's interesting. I'll have to definitely check that out. Okay, now that we got all the intro stuff done, I think most of the intro stuff. Oh, one last announcement. I almost forgot. I have exactly 21 3D printed Blood Brothers runic sigils that will be for sale very soon. I don't know when. I'm going to be coordinating it over on the Discord. I'm going to see if I'm going to set up a shop site or something like that. We'll see, because as more merch comes online, you guys will have a way to be able to acquire that merch. But they are really cool. There's pictures posted over on the Discord already. I have 21 of them left. I only have 21. Extremely limited stock there. Amber, thank you for the first out of 5 super chat towards our super chat goal. Really appreciate you. Thank you for that. W sub says, after I get home from work, yeah. Oh, hold on, did I miss something? Ange says, are you guys going around tonight, Marok? Oh, to grind some levels and stuff. After they get home from work, they will be. Jade, how's it going? Welcome to the stream, Jade. Ange says, do you want me to call your work and tell them you're sick? I got you. He's at work now. That won't work very well. Call and pretend you're his doctor. Oh my gosh. Okay, so 21 3D printed Blood Brothers runic sigils. Those will be for sale. Hopefully in a couple days here, I'll let you guys know. I'll be taking reservations for those. If you want them, make sure you let me know over in the feedback channel on Discord. So that way I can earmark a couple of them for you. I don't know how much they're going to be just yet. I don't know how much shipping is going to be on them. They're not very big. They'll probably just go into padded envelopes. But these are first of their kind. The first iteration of these 3D printed Blood Brother runic sigils. These were made by a buddy of mine, Nick. Thank you very much for making these. We have more stuff coming for you guys, hopefully soon though, but I want to make sure you guys knew about that. So if you're looking to get one, you can let me know about it over on the feedback channel on the Discord. W sub says, I've already been here for 9 hours. Oh geez, time to go home soon, hopefully. All right, let me unpause Tangia. If you guys want to interact with Tangia, there's all kinds of fun things you can do over there. There will be Tangia dungeons flying by that you guys can join. If you already have the Tangia page up, they're free to join the Tangia dungeons if someone else starts them, and you can earn all kinds of fun rewards and stuff like that. Just type !Tangia in chat and you'll get a link over to the Tangia page where you guys can do all of that fun stuff. Ange says 9 hours. They are overworking you. You should come home. Let's play. Jade says, I brought a friend. Waves at Grim. Awesome. Friends are always welcome here, Jade. Thanks for bringing a friend. Grim, how's it going, Grim? Welcome into the stream, buddy. Hope everyone's having a great day today. First thing we're going to do is we're going to look over this timeline. Now, this can be kind of confusing when you don't know what all these features actually mean, but this gives us the schedule that they're hoping, obviously these things could be pushed back. Grim Knight says, I'm the friend. Great to have you, Grim Knight. Welcome into the stream. I love new friends. It's great to have you here. Share it with more friends. Bring them all in so they can hear all the news and happenings in and around Ashes of Creation here on VerraFire. Okay, so they wanted to take time to react to the Phase 3 launch. Completely understandable, right? A new update comes out. It's going to be rough around the edges. They're going to need a lot of attention and work to fix day one patches and stuff like that. That was on August 26th. They were taking time to make sure everything was right with the patch. Then there is the start of the Harbinger update milestone on September 2nd. So they've already started work towards the milestone of bringing us Harbingers, which is really exciting, actually. I'm going to fire up some. Now, you know what? We'll hold off on that because we're going to watch a video here soon. I was going to fire up some lo-fi, but we'll wait a little bit on that. So they've already started work on September 2nd. The updates for these are going to be on Tuesday. Now, this is 24/7 uptime for this phase. They did bring the servers down in the previous phase for 2 days at a time. They're touting this as 24/7 uptime. Obviously, there's going to need to be time for patches, right? So some people are like, well, how is it 24/7 uptime if it's coming down for updates and stuff? That's obvious. I mean, it's going to need to come down for these updates and patches and things like that. Pickle, thank you for the 2nd out of 5 super chat towards our super chat goal. He says, glad you're back, brother. Yeah, it took a couple days. Went out of town for a little bit. But now I'm back. Thank you, Pickle, for the super chat. Really appreciate you. It's good to be back. I'm looking forward to getting back into some more Ashes of Creation. It's been an absolute blast with you guys. We've been having a ton of fun working on everything. Rollbacks, yeah. Struggles, learning curves, yeah. Tons and tons of fun, though. We are in the early stages of getting to know Ashes of Creation. There's a lot of really cool stuff to come. And that's why I want to hear from you guys which features you're most excited for and which features you want me to do deep dives on. We're going to be doing somewhat of a deep dive today. This is not a full lore podcast episode. If you want it to be a full lore podcast episode, let me know over on Discord. Let me know down in the comments section if you're watching this in the future. Let me know in chat if you guys want a deep dive into Harbingers and all of the lore that comes along with this. There's quite a bit to it. Today, we're going to be focusing on the gameplay implications of it. So server downtimes are going to be Tuesday at 10 a.m. Until they're done, until they're finished with them on November 18th. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they make that deadline. But from other people that I've talked to, things tend to get pushed back, and that's fine. There's blockers and things that will prevent them from releasing certain content updates, and it's completely understandable, right? Xuse, how's it going? Welcome in. He says yes, do the deep dive. You want a deep dive on Harbinger, Xuse? You want to know all the lore about it? Well, here's a question. And thank you for the 3rd out of 5th super chat towards our super chat goal. You guys are absolutely smashing this super chat goal. We're only 28 minutes into the stream, and you guys are absolutely obliterating my super chat goal. Thank you guys so much for the support. So it sounds like a couple people at least want some lore deep dives. There's little tidbits that we're going to talk about today about the lore, and it's going to give some people a taste. I'll do a poll. Let's pop a poll in here. Let's do lore podcast. Lore podcast, yes or no? We're going to start that poll up. I'm going to leave that up for the duration, and we'll see what people want. If you guys want a podcast, if so, would it be a separate podcast? Because VerraFire is more about the news and happenings in and around updates that are coming out with a little bit of lore to give the backstory about what the content is about. Do you guys want a separate podcast specifically doing more in-depth curated? I don't know if they'd be live. They would probably be pre-recorded lore readings and explanations and stuff like that. Does that sound good to you guys? More than a couple, Maven says. And if so, what would be a good name for that? Let me know what you guys think about it. While I have you all here as well, I'm going to give away some channel memberships. My way of saying thank you to you guys. Here we go. Let's give away 5 channel memberships. Now, these could be anybody. We got Henway, Michael D, Cooter, S. Smith, Black Pickle. There you guys go. 5 channel memberships we're just giving out at random to any supporters. So thank you guys so much. If you choose to keep those memberships, they will roll over. There will be discounts on merch and stuff like that. There are a bunch of other perks as well. If you link your YouTube to your Discord, you get perks on the Discord. You get fancy looking colors on your name and a special section for you and stuff. You go into the credits if you choose to roll those over. So thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate you. There's 5 gifted memberships. Okay, back to the news. So we're hoping to get all of this by November 18th. They started on September 2nd and Tuesday at 10 a.m. Until they're done, the servers will be coming down. Obviously, they say that if they're going to be as fast as possible while they're down, but if there's stability or quality of service, that degradation, they're going to have to postpone things and push things back. Completely understandable. They have told us a little bit about the PTR schedule as well. So the PTR will be leveraged to test new content and features as a pre-release version before it gets promoted to Alpha 2. What that means is, for roughly 3 to 5 days, the content will be in the PTR. That means that they'll be able to iron out all of the big bugs and issues and things like that before it actually comes to the more stable live environment of Alpha 2 Phase 3. So if you guys are interested in that, you can get 3 to 5 days early access. It is still under visual NDA. Steven has stressed that it is still under visual NDA, but we could talk about it. We can let you guys know about the things that we experienced while we're there, just no visuals at all. It doesn't say you can't have sound, so presumably we can use audio, we just can't have visuals at all. W Sub says, get Western Larch. They are used for all the tier 2 tools. I cut 400 plus worth of wood last night, got only 5 epic. Yeah, they've been really tweaking the epic and legendary drop rates and stuff like that. It's been interesting to see. They bumped them up, they were too high, then they brought them back down and did a rollback. They're trying to find the balance in those things, so hopefully they find a nice sweet spot, because only getting 5 out of 400, that's a bit low. In my opinion, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about that. Seems just a touch low, right? Hopefully they can find the balance there, and we'll get a nice, stable, reasonable amount of epic and legendary and stuff like that dropping from our efforts. We expect the PTR to have early access for about 3 to 5 days. PTR testing incentivization. So they're going to be giving away cosmetics and things like that to the testers to incentivize people to want to do the bug hunting. I'm perfectly okay with that. I think that's a great way to incentivize people to want to go on a server that's going to be wiped and that has no, I mean, everything's going to be wiped eventually, right? But the PTR wipes a lot more often. So why would you want to spend hours upon hours upon hours on there? Well, first of all, it's to help the game. It's to help the game and the developers out to be able to find these bugs and stuff like that. But it's also to get some cosmetic rewards for taking that plunge and being a tester. So that's what that's all about. You guys can expect to get some level of cosmetics from participating on the PTR. Blimpy says, I'm saving Epic Plus Wood too. I've been saving Rare Plus Wood just because the rare stuff is probably going to be the most common. Like, we should be making all rare gear for everybody. The molds are pretty easy to make. The rare wood is pretty easy to get. At least it used to be. I'll have to hop in again later today and see and check that out. But I didn't have too much trouble getting rare stuff. So that's kind of the gear that I was aiming towards making. I wasn't really going for common or uncommon or anything like that. I was doing rare and above. Obviously, epic is really good stuff. Heroic is pretty decent as well. All right, so that is the kind of roadmap there. Let me pull that one down, and we're going to bring up in the background there, that's that interview we're going to be watching, parts of it. This is the overview now of the Harbingers. They call it the Engines of Chaos. There is a lot of lore that goes along with this that explains what this terminology means. But here's the core vision behind the Harbingers. And if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, or anything like that, the reason, again, I do these live, if you guys are new here, the reason I do these live is because I like to interact with you guys. So don't be shy. As long as you're acting in good faith, I want to hear from you. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, good, bad, or indifferent about any of these topics here, chime in and chat. And I do my very best to read every single message that comes through. If you want it read for sure, put it in a super chat. I do my best to get to all channel members' messages, but ultimately, I try to read everybody's messages. So what's the core vision for this new, quote, Harbinger system? Introducing the, quote, Harbinger system, PvE plus PvP objectives. Now, what this says to me is that they're not just thinking about PvP players here. They're thinking about PvE players and PvP players, which is one of my favorite things about Ashes of Creation. They really seem to do a good job of incorporating something meaningful for PvE players and PvP players to be able to do, to come together to help build the world and progress in one way or another. So we're going to be getting new PvP and PvE objectives. Failure matters. Now, this is something that I want to talk about here. This is something that is very important to me. I have seen other games do things where failure matters in so many great ways. I've seen it done in a lot of bad ways as well in various games. I never really played Helldivers for various reasons, but I have heard amazing things about where their failure matters in the game. They had big one-time events where players had to push back evil forces. If they failed to do such in certain areas, it actually had lasting impacts on the game world around them. I find that very, very intriguing. And I'm wondering how much the failure matters here in Ashes of Creation. German 3D Printing Nerd says, PvE is okay, I hate PvP. Well, that's the nice thing, Crash, about this game is you can have meaningful impacts on the world by doing PvE things, as opposed to being forced into PvP, like some other games we know. Here, the PvE implications are actually very, very impactful. But failure mattering is a very interesting concept. It means that players will need to work together at times in order to help secure a certain area or bring about its downfall. In other games, they may run an event where some evil forces are pushing on a city or something like that, and if you don't help push them back within a certain time frame, you actually lose access to that city. Now, this happened with Helldivers too, where the developers literally said that if players did not act fast enough to save Super Earth, it would have actually been lost, and players would have been pushed back into some fringe area in space or something like that, losing access to all of that stuff until they could potentially take it back again. That is awesome. I love features like that, where there is actual implications on the world around you. None of this, well, it's only so bad, right? So that we'll have some divine intervention that will save the world, and even if the players fail, you know, it's not too big of a deal. They've kind of shown this with their last test phase. At the end of the test phase, they had the devs spawning in monsters and stuff. Now, this wasn't like a scripted event. The devs were actually partaking in this and spawning stuff. It was really interesting to see, though, because when we died at the end, when we all ultimately we failed at the end, it was a very climatic thing. You know, we got to see these demons overrun the world around us as we died time and time again, trying to protect the world. It was very, very cool. And I streamed it. If you guys missed that, make sure you go check my stream. I had a live stream on that where we showed off all of that. Really, really cool end of the world apocalyptic event. It's so cool to see developers that are willing to engage with their players in such a way and put on events to keep things fun and exciting, even during the development phases. Really awesome stuff. So when they say failure matters, I'm really curious what they mean by that. They want these to also be replayable and varied. So there's not just going to be, well, here's an event that runs on a schedule and you know exactly what to expect from it. This boss is going to spawn at this time. They're going to have variety to this content, and they will be replayable. I love replayable content. I love when things have variety, and I love when failure actually matters on the world. So all of these things are coming together to paint a picture of a system for this Harbinger system that's going to be very, very entwined with the world and the player's actions. Narrative designed team tools, faster content, storylines, and quests. So that's going to be coming along with this Harbinger system as well. The narrative team is going to be, I guess, developing tools that are going to allow for faster content and storylines and quests and things like that to be able to pop up, presumably for these maybe even one-off events. Really cool stuff. And then we have the cherries on top. These are things that I'm not really sure what they mean by cherries on top. Are these things that we know we're getting or things that they'd like to get if they have time? I'm not positive. But the cherries on top that they have listed are open sea fishing. That's going to be really, really cool. Can you imagine going out on a boat, some fishing vessel, and doing like some immersive deep sea fishing, pulling up some rare fish from the depths of the abyss or something like that? That would be really cool. And, you know, you're at risk because you're out on the open ocean. We're going to be getting ship components, new ship types, ocean expansion, and freshwater fishing. Each one of those is a big gameplay feature in and of themselves. And all of that is just in this Harbinger's Engines of Chaos update, or in these updates that are going to be coming every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Up to hopefully November 18th when they, you know, culminate with the final patch for this. So all of that in and of itself could be its own talking point. New ship components. I'm assuming these are going to be components for like similar to the ones that are for wagons, where you can get different upgrades for your sails. Hopefully with these new ship types, maybe they're modular to some extent. I don't know. I'm theory crafting here a little bit, but I'm really excited to see what these new ship types are going to be. Maybe we'll get some fishing vessel. Maybe we'll get more of a militarized vessel. Maybe we'll get one that's got more storage space for hauling stuff. I have no idea. Maybe we'll get one that you can live on and have some crew quarters or something like that. I think that'd be really, really cool to see. That'd be awesome to have your crew out on the open ocean, maybe, you know, deep out in the ocean, doing some deep sea fishing, collecting some rare fish. You know, you have your respawn point or something like that on your boat. It's gonna be interesting to see. I know that they're working on underwater areas as well. There's like some coral reefs and some underwater content. Maybe that's what the ocean expansion is referring to. I'm not too sure about that. And then freshwater fishing. We kind of already have freshwater fishing because you can fish in rivers and streams and stuff inland. In fact, you can't fish in the oceans from what I've seen, but you can only fish in the freshwater. So I'm not too sure what they mean by freshwater fishing. But each one of those, super exciting to see those on the roadmap here. Additional content is going to be the Renkai, the Summoner, more world bosses, mules, economy features. Again, each one of these a massive addition in and of themselves. The Renkai, not so much because they're just kind of lore and visual right now until we actually get real backstories that have meaning. The Renkai are the Renkai the orcs or are they someone else? It's another race. I think it's a playable race. I think the Renkai are the orcs, maybe, potentially. I could be mistaken on that. I'm not fully versed on any of this stuff yet. Maybe someone else in chat. W sub, do you know if the Renkai are the orcs? I know that it's a playable race that we were supposed to get at some point during phase 3. And well, phase 3 just started, so phase 3 is still ongoing. You know, the summoner is that other class that we're supposed to get. So I don't see anything about subclasses just yet. We don't have anything for those archetypes just yet coming in. Traditional orcs, yeah, so it's the orcs, right? It's the green orc guy that we've seen sitting outside of the new starting area, and the one that we've shown off on a couple of our other podcast episodes. New playable race. I'd like to see racials come online at some point where they have some implication and some reason to pick a different race as opposed to just an aesthetic. But I'm happy to see it come into the game nevertheless. The summoner is going to be really, really big. The summoner is going to be huge. And then especially once they bring the sub archetypes online, because that means you'll be able to take the summoner and mix it with either a tank or a cleric. And if you mix a summoner with a cleric, you actually make a necromancer where you can summon skeletons and things like that. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm going to definitely be testing that out. The sub archetypes, I found out those come online at a later update. They're not implemented just yet, but once they do get implemented, the intention behind them is that you'll need to reach level 25 before you can pick a sub-archetype, and that's where you'll be able to actually start melding them together and things like that. Presumably we'll be getting, well, we'd have to get a level increase to our level cap at some point as well, maybe when those sub-archetypes come online. But the summoner is coming at some point, #SoonTM. World bosses, I think we already have some world bosses. Maybe those are like mini world bosses, I don't know. But we have seen certain bosses, especially at the end of the World Apocalypse event. We did get to see a lot of bosses. But world bosses is on here. I love world bosses, as you guys know. Mules. What are mules? Are these going to be pack mules that will carry stuff for us? Because we already have mounts, we already have wagons, we already have crates, we already have all kinds of ways to carry things from point A to point B. Are mules going to be something in between caravans and crates? Are they going to carry more than a crate but less than a caravan? I'm interested to see what those are going to bring. And then economy features. So economy features, this could be literally anything. I'm looking forward to seeing the economy get more fleshed out. The economy is already in a pretty good space, the way that it works in the game. Grim says mules are essentially a smaller caravan. Okay, yeah. So it's going to bridge the gap between the crates that you carry on your back and the caravans, presumably. That's what I would think as well. Yeah, it's going to be like the middle ground, right? You can load up a mule. Maybe it travels a little faster, a little more maneuverable, a lot less risk. W sub says mules are a crossbreed between horses and donkeys. Well, I know what they like physically are, but what does it mean for gameplay, you know? And I think we're on the right track there. I think mules are going to essentially bridge the gap between crates and caravans. And then general polish on the zones, on the lighting, and on the performance. Now, the zones that need the most polish, those are in the north. We've had some struggles up north with the new dwarven areas. They've been kind of a pain in the butt. They are not as fleshed out as the Riverlands. They're missing a lot of features. They're missing a lot of NPCs that will help us do things like upgrade our certifications and things like that. So hopefully we get some more zone polish as soon as possible, because a lot of people are living up north. Not everybody's down in the Riverlands, and we are missing a whole hell of a lot of stuff up north. I'm not going to lie, guys. It's been rough up there, but it's been fun because we've been able to do it together. You know, the vast majority of us are living up north. We started our adventures up north. We have been through the struggle. We're basically playing the game on hard mode. We're going through the struggles together. So that way, when the zone is more fleshed out, it'll seem so much easier for us. So huge shout out to everybody who's been roughing it up north with us and helping us to pump our node. We're in Vexhelm. So for everyone who's been helping us pump Vexhelm and figure out things as we go, it's been a blast. Thank you guys so much for farming out there. I'm going to be running for Mayor of Vexhelm once we get to that point. It's going to be a lot of fun. The Order of the Blood Brothers is out there day and night doing our best to help the citizens of Vexhelm to grow. So hopefully we get some zone polish for Vexhelm as well as the other northern territories. The lighting actually hasn't been too bad. I found a little bit of a nice thing that I do to my graphics settings where I turn the global illumination and the shadows down to medium, and the game actually looks a lot better on those settings for me, and it runs a lot better too. We do have We do have ray tracing in game now, which I think looks pretty damn good. Blimpy says true north, strong and free. Exactly. And then performance. So my game actually performs really well. Obviously, more performance is always better, but my game performs really well. I know there's been a couple crashes people have been getting here and there. Nothing too crazy, though. I think the performance of Ashes has actually been relatively decent. So that's the roadmap and a little bit of overview as to what Harbingers is all about. Pickle, thank you for the super sticker. I don't know if super stickers actually count towards the super chat goal. I don't think they do because they're still at 3 out of 5, but thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate you, brother. He says, woot. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for all the support, man. Super stickers are a great way to help out the channel as well. All right. They don't, he says. So that is what the Harbingers is going to be bringing. That is, and again, this is very vague because PvE and PvP objectives, I think that's a very, we're going to go more in depth on that. I think that's a very wide berth of information as to what's going to be included in that. This is going to bring us then over to, let me hide this image here. This is going to bring us over to their website. They did a post on the 29th where they were talking about the active development of this current phase. They actually did a Twitch stream. They're really great with their transparency. They do, this is Steven here. They have their other team members here. And they do a stream over on Twitch every month. I think it's at the end of the month. They do their stream. And this was on Friday, August 29th, 2025. They hosted their Ashes of Creation August development update live on Twitch, featuring creative director Steven and director of communications Margaret. So thank you guys for putting these on. It's really great to see a development team that's willing to be open and communicative with their community and their followers and backers and stuff. So it's really great to see these. I have jumped to the timestamp here. If you guys want to follow along, if you scroll down here, we're right at the 45 mark. I think the roadmap to the future starts at 35, but I skipped ahead to the juicy bits right here. We're going to listen to what they have to say. I'm going to unmute my browser here. We're going to listen to what they have to say about a couple of these before we go over to the wiki and really get into a breakdown of what these systems are going to look like. W Sub says, I've defected south to get level 10 gear off marketplace. Instead, 12% speed on roads. Instead, 12% speed on roads and make drop-off trips to the north and turn in the commissions there. Yeah, there's a couple people who have been defecting down to the south, as you call it. But there are a lot of people still working up on the node. I mean, the hard thing is, it's like we go down south, our node gets no experience. So it's like, even if we're bringing materials and stuff back up, they're really, the big things that help the node to develop are boots on the ground, farming day in and day out. And it's a grind, I'm not going to lie, but it's fun. It's fun to grind with you guys. You're down in Winstead? Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, it's nice to be able to go down there to get supplies and things like that. And we have to at certain points because a lot of the stuff we can't get up by us. But boots on the ground is really going to make the biggest impact. But let's go ahead and let's listen into the devs here. Let me know how the volume is on the browser. I don't know if it's going to be too loud or too quiet. Hopefully it's just right. We will pause this at times to talk about the things that they're talking about, but they're going to go over these things as well. And we're going to get some more insight as to this roadmap and things like that. So here we go.
Okay, sorry, we can go into the next one.
So with November 18th having been said, it now brings us to what can we expect?
How's the volume? Is their volume good? Is it too quiet? Silo, welcome into the stream. Working that grind, you know it, brother. Silo, you got to hop in here with us, man. Ashes has been a ton of fun. I think you'd really enjoy this game. Lots of stuff to do. How's the volume on their little window here, guys, on their stream, on their video? Is their volume okay? Obviously, I should be louder than them. Crank it up. All right, hold on. Let me make it a little louder. Let's see. I'm going to put it all the way up to 100%. Let's see. Let me test the volume on this.
The Harbingers, Engines of Chaos. So, Steven, you want to tell us about the vision about it?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, Bill,
how's that?
Help me a little bit on this. I mean, obviously, we have talked about for a long time that the ancients as the primary antagonist of the story, but we haven't seen a lot of representation of them, and that's been purposeful, right? We've been establishing kind of that baseline world's perspective, and waiting for the right.
It's still too quiet? Let me go back here. Is it really still too quiet? I see it on my board here, and I see the sound bar going up pretty high. I'll turn it up even more on my end here. German 3D says it's silent. Hopefully it's not silent. Fizzy, great to have you, man. Welcome into the stream. Silo says, hell yeah, it's been super nuts the last couple of weeks. No, I get you, man, for sure. If you are going to be hopping in, make sure you use my referral code when creating your account, !ashes. All right, let me know how this volume is.
The ancients as the primary antagonist of the story.
This should be good.
But we haven't seen a lot of representation of them, and that's been purposeful, right? We've been establishing kind of that baseline world's perspective, and waiting for the right moment to when we would be introducing the ancients as a faction. And
so for those of you who don't know, there's a lot of lore that they're going to be talking about here. We're going to go over to the wiki after this, and we're going to break down a lot of this as well. This isn't a full lore breakdown. I see 94% of people have voted yes. Make sure you guys vote in that poll if you want to see a lore podcast dedicated to the lore, not so much game updates and stuff like that, but actual lore about the world. The ancients, a little bit of backstory from my understanding is the ancients came and invaded Verra. They pretty much decimated the area. They're trying to corrupt it and its resources and things like that. They want to spread corruption. And these Harbingers are the vessels in which they come out of in order to do these. There are these like crystals and things. We actually hold on one second. I actually have a video I'm going to show you guys as well. No, I'll wait. I'll hold off on that when we get over to the wiki. You guys can hear them good now? That's good. German says, like, overall waiting for the right moment. But yeah, so that's what he's talking about here. The ancients are these entities, this faction that basically we're trying to fight back against in the world of Verra.
The Harbingers, as many of you are aware who have been following the story for a while now, are the moniker given to these comet or celestial bodies that really impacted Verra and started that apocalypse, essentially.
And there you have it. So what actually are the Harbingers in lore? They're these comets, these crystals, these meteors, asteroids, whatever you want to call them. They're something that came from outside of Verra, from another part of the world, maybe another dimension or something. I'm not too clear on that just yet, but they came and they crashed into Verra as meteors. And we actually have a video, a very, very short clip that shows off what some of these turned into. So let me find that really quick and play that for you. Where's that at? I know it's here somewhere. Here it is, play video.
So this is a small point of interest within the Riverlands area. Obviously we're in the Riverlands, it is winter. And this particular location called the Gem Spring is a remnant, a shard remnant of one of the Harbingers that broke off and actually has begun some interesting interaction with Essence within this area. So those of you guys who are going to be participating in Alpha 2, this will be a location where you're going to have some related quests, and this gives you an idea about Gem Springs.
So that was a very, very short video about Gem Springs. Now that was a remnant fragment that broke off from a Harbinger as it was descending. I'm assuming, like, imagine a meteor coming down to hit Earth and parts of it are fragmenting off or something like that. I could be completely wrong on this, but from my understanding on the little bit of research that I've done so far is that this fragment broke off and made these gem springs or whatever they're called. And they are a source of great power in some capacity. They're going to have big gameplay implications. And that's what he's referring to here with a lot of these different features. He's talking about a lot of things that are in lore.
And so what we want to do this upcoming milestone is, we have essentially doubled our internal narrative team. And we have the vast majority of our art resources dedicated this milestone to delivering on those Harbinger locations, but also into introducing the corruption zone mechanics, which is a system that is going to accompany these harbinger locations and where these ancients kind of come from.
These corrupted zones that he's talking about, they're not tied into the corruption of corrupted players. It's two different systems. That's a PvP system. There, he's referring to a system where these fragments or different locations will spontaneously show up in different parts of the world. We've started to see some of these already with the lawless POIs that will pop up. These points of interest that will pop up around the world that have basically open PvP implications where you can go there and you have good reward for partaking in those events. These corrupted areas are going to be something similar to that, with different PvE and PvP objectives for people to do within these corrupted zones. And these are what are going to actually have these long-lasting effects on the world around us.
Grow out within the territories.
They'll spread.
For these kind of lawless zones with higher stakes and reward potential profiles that players get to participate. Bill, if you want to speak a little bit to that.
Yeah, it's really an opportunity for us to really dive into the ancient story and a lot of the rich history of Ashes through these harbingers and through the ancients as a faction and their a powerful enemy force that decimated Verra in the ancient past and are now resurging from these.
They're the big baddies, right? That's what these ancients are. These ancients are the big baddies. Are they the only big baddie? I don't know. Probably not, right? I mean, a lot of games like this, they'll have different main enemies that will flare up from time to time based on expansions and things like that. World of Warcraft does this really well with, well, some might argue not very well, depending on which expansion you're looking at. But like you have the threat of Legion with Sargeras. Then you have, Wrath the Lich King with the downfall of Arthas. Was it Arthas? Yeah, I think it was Arthas. Became the Lich King. You have all kinds of different baddies that will spark up from time to time and become the current baddie. Now, these ancients, they seem to be the ones that actually are seeking to destroy Verra. So right now, as far as we know, these are the real big baddies, and they're seeking to do this through spreading corruption across the land.
These harbingers, and the players are going to have to deal with them. And part of that is they're by their nature they're spreaders of chaos and corruption, and so these are PvE and PvP true PvX events that are going to be happening and spreading across the face of Verra from these harbinger landing points.
Yes.
There, it's a opportunity for us to really exercise a lot of the hard work we've been putting into revamping our narrative systems and our ability to author and present events and quests and narrative.
That right there is so important to me. What he just basically said was that, well, Stephen already said that they've expanded their narrative team dramatically. They're putting a ton of effort into expanding the narrative team and bringing lore into the game. It's one of the things that WoW normally struggled with. Their cutscenes and stuff are really, really great, but you have to read the books and watch videos and stuff to get the full extent of what is happening in game. I'm really hoping that they're able to bring all of the lore, all of the storytelling, all of that stuff in game with these narratives, these narratives created by the narrative team, and with quests and the ever-changing world that has actual implications where failure matters in the world. I'm hoping that they can really bring that home in Ashes of Creation, because those things are very important to me. It's one of the reasons why I liked Secret World so much. Secret World did such a great job of having so many little breadcrumbs and adventures that you could have in-game. Now, a lot of that stuff required external sources to look things up because some of the riddles and things were just really, really difficult. And you had to be like a mastermind puzzle extraordinaire solver to get through a lot of those things. But it was so cool to have such a rich lore baked into the game where you didn't have to go and read a book to understand what was going on in your video game.
And so there's going to be a lot of work going into introducing players to this group, bringing you into the story. And making sure that that the events themselves and all of the things we're asking you to do are fun and exciting and give you a sense of what Verra is all about.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that obviously I love about having such a detailed wiki, and another, I often give
There's a
shout
lot
outs
of
to
info in the
Lex,
wiki.
but phenomenal job.
One of the interesting things about their wiki, it almost has too much information. There is so much, as you'll see. We're about to go over there after we finish watching their little breakdown here. We're going to go over to the wiki and read through a lot of stuff. There's almost too much information. It makes it very hard to tell what is actually implemented in the game or when things will be implemented until you really, really dive deep into them. But the wiki is awesome to dig through. There is so much cool stuff on the wiki.
And maintaining that for the community as a resource. Obviously, I know that we have other resources out there. I know Ashes Codex is one of them that many players utilize. It's always great that we have a community that is, proactive in standing up resources to help players, to help testers navigate the space. But one of the great things I love about the wiki is that you can go back and you can look at our original intent back in 2017 when we first discussed these ideas of our corruption zones, of these harbingers and what they represent. And I'll talk loosely a little bit about how these interact, especially with a dynamic world component, which is obviously one of the biggest selling points that we're trying to incorporate as part of our design. Uh,
That hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, those dynamic world events. That's what I'm most intrigued about with these Harbinger events, with these corrupted zones and things like that.
and I do want to caveat, take this with a grain of salt. Anytime, obviously, a unique brand of salt, a specific type of sea salt called developer sea salt. It is obviously subject to change. There are things that can happen as we go through this milestone in development that can cause us to course correct, that can be specific to the engine, that can be unique to the deliverable goal that we iterate upon, right? That's the soup of development that can exist, right? And so just I know that we spend a lot of time kind of trying to express that to the community and to the player base. It is an integral component of what it means to understand the process of development. So help me in making sure that your fellow players and testers understand that when I talk about things that are to come, they are subject to change. So with that being said, I do want to talk about the
Obviously,
vision and the goals, right, that we are trying to incorporate as part of this Harbinger mechanic. So essentially, as you know, the story of Vera.
I also want to say just how refreshing it is to get an actual insight into what these systems are going to look like rather than just an idea behind them. It's not just, hey, this is our idea. We're going to have something akin to like, yeah, there's going to be these zones and they're going to do stuff. They're actually telling us, and you can read over on the wiki when we go over there too, how they want these systems to function. So you'll be able to see what implications they'll actually have on actual gameplay. German 30 Printing Nerd says, Yeah, I mean, well, Crash, you got to remember, they did these things live just like I'm doing them live. It's actually pretty difficult to formulate all of your thoughts on the fly about different things, even if you have talking points that you're going to go over, much like I do. I mean, I have my talking points of things that I want to make sure I convey to people as well. I would challenge you to give it a try yourself, actually. Get put on the hotspot with dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of thousands of people watching you to talk about these different things. And it's actually quite difficult. I think they all do a pretty good job, actually. We're talking about developers here. These are not press credentialed individuals. These are developers, nerds like us who are sitting down actually making the video games that we're playing. So the fact that they even had the cojones to sit down and chat with us live like this, it says a lot about their character. They're willing to be transparent, and they're putting that best foot forward, So maybe they have their own little quirks and stuff when they're talking, but I have no problem with that. I have my own little quirks when I talk, and maybe I say too much, maybe I say like too much or something like that. We all have our own little quirks and stuff, but it's great information nevertheless that they're actually giving us. I love this information that they're giving us. So thank you to the team for being able to sit down and taking time out of their busy schedules to actually keep us in the loop. That's huge to be able to keep us in the loop.
The ancients arrived on the planet in an effort to seek to destroy, pervert, and create unholy, essentially, that which Vyra has created. And they were successful in that, at least with regards to the apocalypse and driving out the civilizations, the divine races through the gateways to Sanctus for their sanctuary. And the ancients, of course, they have other things that they're doing. I won't go into detail about that. That's a lot of lore that I'm not quite ready for us to reveal just yet. I mean, the story is going to onboard you to what that means when that story gets implemented and is in.
I'm really looking forward to hearing all of that lore. I do really like lore. There's so much to go over, though. I'd really need to find a starting point. If I am going to do this podcast, because 95% of you have voted, make sure you guys go vote if you want to hear a lore podcast. I'm gonna need a starting point. I'm gonna need to find a starting point. Maybe we just go back to the beginning. What happened in the very beginning of Verra? How did the world become? Maybe that information's there, maybe it's not. Grim says, the commentary you just gave, you have won a follower. You're a breath of fresh air in the Ashes community. Keep it up. I appreciate that, Grim. I try to be as honest as possible, right? I try to be as nice and just as chill and as real as possible. That's what this whole podcast and my whole channel is all about, is just being as real as possible. It's what our whole community is about, really. Over at the Cheeky Buggers United and all of our clans, guilds, and everything, it's all about just being as real as possible. So I'm glad that you resonate with that, Grim. I appreciate you. Thank you for the follow. I try to be as real as possible, though. That's ultimately our main goal. When you say it's a breath of fresh air for the Ashes community, what has been the overarching theme in the Ashes community? I know, like with Star Citizen, there's a lot of people who can be salty about it because of the long development time, and there's other people who are very fresh and happy about it. I have not had a lot of time to break down into all of the other community content creators and stuff like that, but what's the overarching? Is there a lot of negativity in it? I don't know. I've only interacted with a few people, and it's been very good so far. Grim says, so many YouTubers are doom and gloomers right now. That's what people try to label me for PAX Day. I will get hate mail daily for my PAX Day content, but I'm being fair in those assessments, and the numbers reflect it. It's unfortunate that PAX Day is going down the path that it's going down in terms of like not having any content coming out and very vague things coming out from the developers. It's kind of doom and gloom around it. People have called me a doom and gloom when it comes to my PAX Day stuff. I will have to talk about bad things at times. These people in front of you, they're not perfect. I'm not perfect, right? There will be times when maybe they have a bad take on it, and I'm just going to be honest with those things in all things. So sometimes I will have to talk about the hard things to talk about, and we'll have to sit down here, but I always give constructive criticism. I'm never just doom and gloom just to rain on a parade or anything like that, but I'm also not going to blow rainbows and butterflies up people's bums. That's not my point here either. I'm here to be realistic and to talk about all the things that need to be talked about. But yeah, with PAX Day, people have kind of, started to, and it's the minority. I've gotten a couple hate mails of people who are like, oh, you're just negative all the time and you just want to see the game fail. No, it's actually the opposite. The reason that I criticize is because I love the game. I want to see it succeed. It brought so many people together. Mascus says, never fear. Levon is here. Great to see you, man. Welcome in. But I appreciate that, Grim. I try my best to, exactly, have balance in all things. When something needs to be criticized, I'll criticize it. When something needs praise, I praise it. And right now it's all new and exciting. I'm sure at some point we will have to talk about some harder things about, the delay or something like that. But I'm a very fair person, you'll find. Grim says, I will love that balance. Lots aren't willing to give them the benefit of the truth. You're killing it, friend. I appreciate it. You're too kind, Grim. I really, really appreciate that. Maven says, yay. Watson hit me with a quad brisket and says, brisket love. I need to get some brisket in my life. I haven't had brisket not having brisket in a week. Not having brisket in 24 hours is too long to go without having brisket. So I need to get some brisket. But Graham, I really appreciate it, man. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're liking the content so far. I try to keep it as real as possible. Let's hear what else the devs have to say before we go over to the wiki and start to break down a lot more that's going to be coming in the Harbinger update.
Game. But I will say that they had left behind presence on Verra, so that should ever there be a return of these divine races, these souls that are quite tasty to a degree if you're looking for essence and you're an ancient.
So they want to eat us
and try to reintroduce civilization, and lo and behold, that's what's happening today. When you return as a player, you are coming back to a home world, to an ancient world that was once your ancestors, and you are bringing back to it civilization and growth. And as a response to that, the ancients will be seeing this.
It's starting to make sense now. Okay. So the ancients are pissed because we came back to Verra and we're starting to build up the world again. We're working on our settlements. We're going and partaking in different events around the world, cleansing corruption, doing different things like that to fight back the forces of evil, right? The ancients are pissed about this because they want to see that corruption spread. So it's a reactionary thing. They came and invaded. They are seeing us rebuilding and they want to kind of push us back, is what I'm understanding from the lore here a little bit.
And almost like a heartbeat on Verra, these corruption zones will respond
Exactly.
to player
Okay.
activity in a very dynamic way, because we have certain touch points where players can do certain things, such as advancing settlements or crafting legendary gear or successfully starting wars between factions and guilds or different settlements and each other. And each
Oh,
of these
I know I'm pausing it a lot, guys, but there's a lot to break down here. Crafting legendary gear potentially may be something that will spark up a response from the ancients. Going to war, maybe it's a decentivization process to stop people from wanting to just go to war all the time unless it really matters. You're going to be causing corruption in different areas. Or if you're working for the forces of darkness, maybe you want to see the corruption spark up. So you're going to war to cause it. Maven says still can't hear it. You still can't hear the devs talking? Like at all? You should be able to. Jade says, Grim, my new friends are cool. It's great to have you here, Grim. Maven, you can't hear the devs talking? Can anyone else hear them talking? It's super low? Really? Really? It's like unbelievably loud on my end. I turned it up so high. I'll turn it up the rest of the way. Is it really super low? Can I actually go above 100% here on my end? Hold on, let me see. Let's go to advanced audio properties. I can go above 100%. I just don't want it to get blown out or hurt your guys' ears. Super low, really? So right now, hold on.
types of player activities within
That's
the
super
world
low?
can tick a clock to a degree, can stroke a ticker, and that ticker might be corruption as a level that's rising. And when that ticker hits a certain threshold from a dynamic world state perspective, these zones, these areas, these almost tendrils of corruption that reach out from the Harbinger impact locations will begin to grow. And they may incorporate upwards of 20 or 30 or potentially even 40%
Is that good?
of an individual zone's playable space as conduits, as tendrils that break apart the normal transit lines of trade between nodes and in.
Everything he's saying right now is super important. That's why I want to make sure you guys can actually hear him very well. You can also go find this on their stream as well if you want to re-listen to it later. But let me back it up a bit here. This is Steven talking about the actual systems and what they're going to do to the world around them.
It's a certain threshold from a dynamic world state perspective.
There's going to be thresholds that will be met.
Zones, these areas, these almost tendrils of corruption that reach out from the Harbinger impact locations will begin to grow. And they may incorporate.
So these corrupted zones are going to spread. And again, all this is subject to change, but this is Steven's vision behind it. It's going to spread. Maven says, not sure what's going on, but I still couldn't hear them other than I hear some voice trying to say something at times. That's weird because it's super, super loud on my end. Can I get confirmation from someone else? Are you guys able to hear when I press play on the video? You should be able to. I have it turned up 140% and it's maxed out on my end on the player here. You should be able to hear them. All of my audio software is showing that it's coming through almost as loud as my voice. But I want to make sure you can hear them because this point that he's making right here, you hear it good now, Crash says? It's just lower. It should be lower than me because I want to be able to talk over it if I need to. But it should be, you should be able to hear it. To me, I can hear them, but it's still low. Interesting. I can't really go too much louder without it being blown out, I would think. Limpy says, I can tell they're talking but can't make anything out. That's so weird. How come some people can hear it and others can't? I'm not sure how else to. I'll bump it up a little more. It's like 10% volume. That's so weird. I have it on 150% now. It's on 150%, 3.5 decibel increase. Whereas like my microphone's on a -2 decibel. So we'll see. Hopefully this is loud enough. But basically what he's talking about is you have these impact sites, these harbingers. These are going to be corruption sites for these ancient ones, these old demonic gods of sorts. Ray, how's it going? He says it may be showing volume to you, not use. I bet there's a mixer that is adjusting afterwards. Well, I mean, going through my software, I can see the output volume to stream, and my voice spikes on my audio software there is almost the same height as my browser output here that you guys are seeing. So I'm not too sure. But first of all, welcome into the stream. Great to have you. I'm not too sure. I have it on 150% and it's completely maxed out now. So hopefully you can make out what he's saying. But essentially what he's saying is you have these impact sites, they're going to spread and they're going to have impacts. He says like tendrils, they're going to reach out into the world around them, these corruption sites.
Upwards of 20 or 30 or potentially even 40% of an individual zone's playable space as conduits, as tendrils that break apart the normal transit lines of trade between nodes and in POIs. And as that corruption spreads, you're going to see the environment changing. You're going to see some, darker red haze that comes in. And
so what he's talking about now is there's going to be actual changes that you'll experience in the world around these zones. It's not just maybe quests that'll pop up or something. The atmosphere is going to change. You're going to have a red haze potentially that's going to come about in these areas. You're going to be able to tell that this area has the telltale signs of corruption. This has a lot of implications in gameplay. This is going to open up things for role play. As a lot of you know, we are big role players. We're going to be able to go and role play closing these portals and these corruption, pushing back the corruption in certain areas and things like that. Very, very cool stuff to hear, though, that it's going to have actual impacts on the world around it.
Some potential fog elements, and the resource gatherables may change to corrupted variants or corrupted versions, and players will see an opportunity in that regard to acquire perhaps these resources that might be more valuable or might have a higher experience reward structure within this huntable PVX environment.
What he's talking about now is also super, super impactful, much like we're seeing with these PvP lawless zones that are popping up. You get good reward for your efforts in there. You get higher drop rates because you get that extra, is like 10% luck or something like that. You get an extra 15% experience. They're great zones to go and farm. These harbinger sites, these corrupted zones, these are also going to have high risk, high reward. You're going to have some benefit for going into there. Maybe the resources are not otherwise obtainable besides from a corrupted zone. Maybe you need to go into a corrupted zone to get a reagent in one of your crafting recipes, maybe to make some corrupted weapons or something like that. You're gonna be able to go in there and acquire these from these sites that you would not normally be able to acquire. So rare materials are gonna be spontaneously sparked up inside of these zones, which are true PVX zones. So there's PVE stuff, there's PvP stuff. It's all intertwined together in a way where everyone can feel useful in some regard.
Now, not everybody's going to be forced into that area. If players don't want to participate in PVX or PvP, they can stay delegated to a more safe, lawful area.
And he's also stressing too that if people don't want to engage in that PVX and have that risk reward, they can stay delegated to the safe zones, to the more lawful zones.
But if you're trying to transit the most efficient or effective route in order to earn gold or transit materials, you might intersect with these corruption zones. unless players push them back. And that is the primary replayable
That's the
loop
key.
that we're aiming to achieve with these
Pushing
corruption
them
zones
back.
spreading out of the Harbingers, is that they have objectives within them. And there are two primary phases that will likely exist with
So along with these corrupted zones, with these Harbingers, they're going to have two primary objectives. Players will actually be able to push back these Harbinger sites, these corrupted zones, if you will. We will be able to push them back. Maybe it's encroaching on your settlement. Maybe your settlement's at risk of being corrupted itself. Who knows what implications these are going to have on the world around us. Maybe certain quests are only available while the corruption's there or not there. Who knows? But we will be able to push them back, and the overarching theme above them is going to be there's two main phases to these zones. And let's hear Stephen talk about what these two main phases are.
these corruption zones. There will be an incursion phase and there will be a foothold phase.
An incursion
players will
phase
have
and a foothold
hours
phase.
essentially to respond to the incursion if that growth occurs and prevent that zone from becoming somewhat permanent. But if they
So we only have a couple hours to respond to the incursion zones. The incursion will happen. Let's say it's outside of your town or something. The zone gets marked on the map or whatever happens, right? It gets marked as corrupted. We discover that it's corrupted. We only have a short amount of time to react to it, to maybe have a chance to stop it from flaring up. If we fail, that's where failure matters, I'm assuming. It's going to become a somewhat permanent installation unless we can fully push it back, maybe at a later date. Who knows? But there are going to be these fluid zones where they're going to be popping up all over, having different implications on the world around us. And it's up to the players to actually push these zones back.
fail to do so during the incursion phase, the zone may become a foothold. And a foothold requires a different set of objectives in order for players to push back that corruption. So I just want to be clear, like the system that we're intending to provide here is that players through their activities control the expansion of these zones, and through their successes in community organization and objective completion can control pushing back these zones. And depending on how these zones exist within the zone, depending on how these corruption zones exist within the Sand Squall, within the Turquoise, and within the June Dark, may impact the transit of trade and goods and gold that's generated within the world, and allow certain factions of players to prey on other factions of players as they seek to pursue those scarce resources.
Very, very interesting stuff. Essentially, if you fail in the incursion stage, it sounds like what Stephen's saying is you'll still be able to push back the foothold, but it's going to be much more difficult now because it's not just an incursion. They actually have, a foothold in your world now, or in your zone, or wherever it may be. They literally have a foothold, so it's going to be harder to push them back. And this is going to have implications on trade routes, on the flow of materials and goods. So it's going to want to incentivize people to actually work together. Let's say there's a node or a settlement, they call them now, that's to the south of you and you're to the north, and a corruption comes up in between you. It's in the best interest of both of those settlements to work together to push back that corruption in order to have a free flow of information and goods and gold and things like that, caravans and whatnot, because again, those are good for settlements to be able to be trading. So it can bring people together. Or you could have the nefarious players in the world wanting to take advantage of the reroute and being able to ambush people. You're going to have people on both sides of the spectrum here. It's actually going to be a really dynamic and interesting thing to see once we get our hands on it in game.
A lot.
I know. I'm so sorry.
So,
once I get on the
hopefully-
stream, it's like a stream of consciousness just flowing there.
So hopefully everyone's following along. Obviously, I know that there's been a lot of questions. We'll be answering those later. But on that front, that is not it. And, obviously we're bringing in the story of the Harbingers. And with that comes, obviously storylines and quests and things of that sort. So Bill, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the narrative design team tools. They've been working with what they got right now, but we're working to hopefully get them some better ones.
Yeah,
So he's going to talk a little bit about the narrative design team tools and what they're going to have at their disposal to bring narrative into the game. Again, I talked a little bit about this before, but really important stuff here because I am a firm believer in having things played out in game. I don't want to have to go to a third-party third-party resource or some external source in order to get information about what's happening in game. It was one of the biggest downsides of Elite Dangerous. You almost had to use so many third-party tools in order to play the game properly, especially when it came to like the engineers and stuff. You didn't know what you needed to get, where you needed to go, where they were even located. A lot of that stuff was not told in game. You had to use external sources. I really like when the game has the narratives baked into the experience.
Other than to say like this is going to be a true test of them, and it's an improvement over where we have been, and we're bringing on new designers and new resources to really exercise the system and make sure it's hardened for our future, right? Where we want to do, this is again like the first kind of stab at events of this scale and the scope, and this is something we want to have in Ashes all the time. So it's important that we get these things right, and that we're proving them in a realistic way, so that they are repeatable, and that we do have good pipelines for delivering this stuff, not only for the end of this year, but well into the future, and a live game that where we're investing in this dynamic world, in this promise of a dynamic world, and we want that to be real. And so the hard work on these tools and making sure we get them right is what we're doing here.
The important thing about what he's saying is they are developing tools to better be able to bring us a lot of these systems. Now, much like with Star Citizen, they're developing a lot of tools as well. Once you have the tools made, once you have the infrastructure developed, it makes using it in other aspects of the game so much easier now, because you've already put in the legwork and the engineering in order to bring these tools to fruition. So if they're talking about systems and tools on the back end that's going to allow developers to be able to bring dynamic events, that means that not only are these Harbingers going to be dynamic events with these corrupted zones and stuff, they could carry this over to a litany of other experiences. Maybe there's world boss spawn events that they're going to use these same tools that they've developed here, where we can actually cause bosses or their minions to travel or something like that. It's just an example, completely just pulled that out of the left field. But imagine, the systems are in place now once they get this work done, this legwork done, where they can carry this over to other aspects of the game, and it will allow the development process to go faster and faster and faster. Much like with Star Citizen with their world tech. Once they have the world tech down, they can make new systems much, much faster, because all of the systems that took a long time to develop, well, they have those now. So they can use it to reproduce other planets and other systems and stations and things like that.
Yeah. And beyond that, we have a little cherries on top section.
And actually, I do want to give a shout out, actually, as part of that tools discussion, because Zach and Andrew and the NCS team have been doing a great job on the narrative tooling, so that we can move faster.
Narrative content systems
Exactly
is what NCS stands for.
Yep.
Too.
Thank you, Bill.
Yep.
And they have been doing a great job on delivering with what the designers have asked from a tooling perspective. We did a significant overhaul and revamp of the narrative core systems. And as a result, we're feeling pretty good about these next couple of months and introducing content. But I will say, additionally, on top of that, we have brought on a new lead content designer as well, Terrence, who has been doing a phenomenal job as part of that effort as well. So big shout out to Terrence. He actually was with us early on with the company and came back after a short stint away. So very excited to have him helping to lead those efforts as well.
Yep. And so what I was going to say was that's not all. We also have the little cherries on
all the
top
cherries
section.
on top.
So if you might say that's our sundae, we have a little bit of extra toppings sprinkled on the top of that.
Yeah, and
so I don't know.
Our toppings tend to be another sundae. So it's like,
hey, look, we want it to be as big as possible.
Yeah,
so these are not easy feats either, as Bill was basically trying to allude to. These are, while they may be cherries on top, they are much bigger than a cherry.
Yeah, these are big systems.
Something like
these aren't just little nuggets.
Is a whole new loop, and a whole that will affect the game in significant ways. Offers a whole new opportunities for different types of gameplay, whole new economic loops and ways to impact the global economy. It's super exciting. We have a team, that's really fired up and passionate about fishing and doing good work already here
I
on
love
this.
fishing in games.
Absolutely.
The
And just to
discussions on the
speak,
fishing stuff has been really cool. I've been watching like a fly on the wall. It's been pretty neat seeing what
I
they're
mean,
working towards.
MMOs are just an excuse to implement fishing systems.
That's
Exactly.
correct,
That's
yes.
true.
Yes.
Exactly. He said
Fantasy
MMOs are just an
fishing,
excuse to
massively
fish.
multiplayer online role-playing game. I think that
That's
I
hilarious.
think that just to give a little bit more detail there, I think this is going to hit a sweet spot for what a lot of people have been asking for, especially people who have played some similar games as myself. I think that there's obviously a lot of great references out there to help inform this system, and we are definitely using the best to inform with also some of our own twists onto it. You can expect, as it outlines here, ship components. We have some additional ship components that include things like a holding tank for fish.
Oh,
that
nice. So you
include
can
things
store fish on
like
your ship.
radar that's going to be
Radar for
incorporated as
fishing?
part of a
Interesting.
particular ship type. We do have an entirely new ship type that is coming on board. It's going to be smaller than the Caravel. It's going to have unique attachment slots that it will have access to. The
Awesome.
ones that
New
I just
ship.
described. And then we're going to be expanding the playable space of the ocean, hopefully. That is a goal that we have.
Let's
So
frickin'
that we
go.
don't incur those kind of sharp edge of map corridors that make for uninteresting strategic gameplay. And then we're also going to be incorporating this sport fishing design as part of a freshwater fishing approach as well. Obviously, that'll yield a lesser return, but it'll be safer because you will not be in a lawless area.
So the freshwater fishing, he's talking about being a more safe way of fishing. It's going to have less of a return, obviously, because you're not going to be flagged as a combatant. All of that stuff, it's kind of what we assumed from all of those. The ocean expansion, he's talking about expanding the playable area of the map of the ocean, so that way you can go around. You'll be able to go around different areas that normally were hotspots, maybe of like choke points and things like that, so that way you can avoid stuff like that to just increase the playable area there. Really, really cool stuff though. So new ship, it's going to be smaller than the current ship that we have. It's going to have swappable component slots. We're going to get new ship components such as the holding tank and the radar of sorts to be able to find fish and then go fishing for fish. So an entire new game loop about hunting and trying to track down these rare fish and stuff like that. Super, super awesome. How many people in chat love fishing in MMOs? I think most people enjoy fishing in MMOs, and this sounds like it's going to be a pretty cool system. I'm really looking forward to seeing if they're going to put any little secrets inside the open ocean expansion. And I really want to see. I'm going to try and find this new ship type, see if they have anything like that. German 3D printing nerd says I do. I think a lot of people really, really enjoy fishing. I'm going to go ahead and you know what? Let's give away 5 more gifted memberships here. You guys have been absolutely awesome to me. Let's give back a little more. We have Huntley, Dungeons, Leo, Ruda, or Redu, and Dragon King. Congrats. You guys were just gifted 1 month of membership here on the channel. Again, if you choose to carry those over, your perks will roll over and your star will upgrade next to your name, and you'll get all the discounts and stuff like that. Again, we have 21 3D printed Blood Brothers runic sigils. You guys want to see what they look like? They're going to be going up for sale sometime soon. Check the membership feedback room. I'll pin the message over there with them. Those are at random. Whenever I send those out, it just goes to anyone who is eligible. If you want to be eligible to receive those, make sure you go down to the gifting section, and there's like a little cogwheel. I made a short on it showing people how to actually turn it on, because you actually have to opt in to be able to receive gifted memberships. But there's a very specific way that you do that. And then you could be gifted free memberships, not just by me, by other people. There's a lot of gifted memberships that go around here on the channel. So that's the open sea fishing cherry on top that they're talking about here. Presumably going to be coming with this Harbingers Engines of Chaos update. I'm assuming they're going to go into additional content here really soon.
So, those are goals that we have. I think that the mini game there is going to be a lot of fun and something that players
it's going to have a mini game.
are looking forward to.
Very cool.
All right. Moving on beyond open sea fishing, we've got the Renkai joining the mix as a new race. The long-awaited summoner that we know folks have been waiting on.
Yes.
Some world bosses. I think that's supposed to say. It says, or is it just world boss and there's an extra S? I think. Is it just one world boss? I think. Actually, no, there's three,
No,
right?
there's
Bill?
there's going to be
Mhm.
variants. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Bill.
I was just gonna say, there, bosses is probably accurate.
World
Yeah,
bosses,
I think what
plural.
we're planning to
More
do
than
is
one
finish up
boss.
Sclerisha, which is almost done. I think that's part of their the milestone goal, which is the big scorpion
So cool to see
mama.
world
Okay, maybe
bosses.
even more
Call
than
her.
three then.
No, and then on top of that, we're going to be delivering as part of the Harbinger goal, obviously an ancient raid boss. You guys may have
An
seen
ancient raid
examples of
boss.
this. We're going to be refining it, but the ancient one that was
Oh, the
experienced in
ancient
part of
one.
phase 2 and phase 1.
Yeah, so we actually seen that. If you guys want to see the ancient one, they're talking about refining the giant scorpion, which we fought, the ancient one, which we fought. Those are going to be fully fleshed out. That's why it says plural world bosses. Because I think right now, is it just the dragon that's fully fleshed out? I'm not sure exactly. But plural, some world bosses we're going to be getting.
That's going to be getting, I think, some model touch-ups and perhaps a little bit of a treatment from a behavior tree and ability perspective. And then there may be some bespoke uniqueness generally as part of that raid boss, depending on the Harbinger you're at.
And then mules will be coming. I know folks have been very excited for
Oh,
the
here we
mule
go, mules.
system and wanting that. Has been very much asked for. So that will be coming as well. And we talked about this several times already, but economy features and changes will continue to be iterating on the economy. I feel like that's a never ending thing. We're constantly adding to it.
That's definitely never
and
ending.
obviously iterating on that. And then we'll be polishing zones, lighting, and performance. And I don't know if you guys want to go into detail on any of those bits.
Timbits, how's it going? Welcome into the stream, buddy. Says, and the Cyclops, Tumok. So are those not all of those ones that we saw then at the end with the apocalypse of the last phase? Those are all still work in progress then. So maybe they're talking about just the culmination of all of those world bosses coming into the world. We're going to see if they're going to talk. Hopefully they address something with the zones here, because I'm really curious if they mention anything about the northern zones.
Just that performance obviously is a continual effort for us. As you add more content to the game, more systems to the game, more features to the game, you can experience dips in performance. So it's going to be a constant struggle for us, something that we are always profiling.
Oh, Tumok and
expecting,
Firebrand are
and
finished.
addressing.
Gotcha.
You may see some regression in performance at times, depending on what we're implementing, and then we will quickly follow up with some inspection and solutions. Lighting, as we know, as I announced earlier, we did do a nativization approach to our custom lighting solution. We are using that nativization effort to help us better debug the lighting problems that we're having. Some of it is innate to the Lumen to the Lumen system as it relates to large interior spaces. We're working with Epic on that as well. So just to be clear, there are some fixes that are going to be coming down the pipe from tech art and lighting teams with regards to that. As it pertains to the
So
zones,
some lighting
as
and
an overall
performance
polish
fixes.
approach, I don't know that polish is perhaps the right term. I think what we're going to be doing is continuing to flesh out zones overall as we move forward. Heavy focus is obviously going to be within the Harbinger areas, the impact craters, but there may be some additional development in the anvils over the course of these next several months, obviously, as well.
Please, Stephen.
And we will keep you guys updated as we release those.
All right. And with that,
so I think that's all the main information that we need to hear from this post that they did. So that's going to bring us over to the wiki. That's really, really good news, though. Hopefully, fingers crossed, they've continued to flesh out the anvils. We are missing some stuff up there that we desperately need. If they want people to be able to test these things out, they need to bring those NPCs and stuff up to the north. It has been gruelingly difficult hard mode style when it comes down to playing in the north. So hopefully, #SoonTM, we can get some more of those quality of life things brought up to the north. That brings us over to the wiki. So that's what they had to say about a lot of these things, but let's read through what the wiki has to say about Harbingers. A lot of this may be reiterating some stuff, but they say the Harbingers, also referred to as engines of chaos, are comet-like crystalline bodies powered by a very strong source of magic that essentially acts as a bridge between the void and the material plane where Verra exists. The Harbingers, as many of you are aware, this is a quote from Stephen, as many of you are aware who have been following the story for a while now, are the moniker given to these comet or celestial bodies that really impacted Verra and started the apocalypse. So These are what started the apocalypse in the first place. Some really, really deep lore here. Timbit says, I gave up on the anvils and ran my dwarf over to the Riverlands. Yeah, a couple people have done that. A couple people have definitely done that for sure. I'm hoping that #SoonTM we get some quality of life brought up north, though. The ancients and the others used the Harbingers to travel to Verra, thus beginning the apocalypse. And these things all do have sources here. You can see sources 5, 6, and 2. This is from a live stream. This is from a live stream. That's from a live stream. There's a page on the ancients. There's a page on the others. You can see pages on all of these different things. And that's what we will be breaking down if we do a lore podcast dedicated to this. Looks like 91% of you want a in-depth lore podcast for Ashes of Creation. Let's see what else they say here. When they arrived, the ancients flowed out of the conduits that opened at the center of the Harbingers and began conquering Verra. So these things are basically tethers. It allows them, it's like a doorway. It allows them to travel into Verra. They sent these conduits, these Harbingers, and then they are traveling through them in order to conquer Verra, like portals of sorts. I wonder if that means they can go both ways. Does that mean that eventually we may be able to see the world in which the ancients are coming from? Maybe we can go there? That would be very interesting. I love stuff like that. The Harbinger comet landed between the Aelin capital Ayla and the city Kerfin, allowing the ancients to advance on both locations during, quote, the fall. Shard remnants of the Harbinger broke off and formed the Gemspring POI of the Riverlands, which that is what this video that we played. I'll play it again for you guys here. That's what this is.
This is a small point of interest within the Riverlands area. Obviously, we're in the Riverlands. It is winter. And this particular location, called the Gemspring,
so this is a Gemspring.
A remnant, a shard remnant of one of the Harbingers that broke off and actually has begun.
I think I've actually seen this.
Interesting interaction with Essence within this area. So those of you guys who are going to be participating in Alpha 2, this will be a location where you're going to have some related quests, and this gives you an idea about Gemsprings.
It looks really familiar. I'm pretty sure I've seen that in game. But that's what the Gemsprings actually are tied to then. And I know that you guys have seen up in the sky that moon that has been exploding, right? Well, there's lore behind that as well. The shattered moon was impacted by one of the Harbingers on its way to Verra during the apocalypse, causing it to periodically erupt. That's why whenever we look at the night sky and you see that moon up there that explodes seemingly over and over again from time to time, now you know what it is. It actually was struck by one of these Harbingers on its way to Verra. So I wonder, again, will we be able to travel to these locations? Will we be able to go to these moons, to these different planets, these other dimensions and things like that? I love theorycraft about those things. But that's what the shattered moon actually is. Corrupted areas mark the locations where the Harbingers impacted during the apocalypse. And there's a litany of references here. From a live stream, from a video, from an interview, references on other pages and things like that. Tons and tons and tons of references here about this. In the present, these areas can spawn lawless zones where the ancients are capable of pushing into the material plane and spreading effects of corruption, which again, we just talked about a whole bunch of that stuff. And these quotes were actually, I believe, I'll read this one. This one's by Steven. And that is the primary replayable loop we're aiming to achieve with these corrupted zones spreading out of the Harbingers, is that they will have objectives within them. Yeah, so this is from the interview we just had. And there are two primary phases that will likely exist in these corrupted zones. There'll be the incursion phase and there'll be the foothold phase, again, which we've gone into a little bit of depth on already as well. And players will have hours essentially to respond to the incursions that growth, if that growth occurs. So we'll have hours to respond to the incursions and prevent that zone from becoming somewhat permanent. But if they fail to do so during the incursion phase, the zone may become a foothold, and a foothold requires a different set of objectives in order for the player to push back that corruption. That's from Steven there. The corruption brought by the Harbingers twists and distorts everything it touches. Now again, this is theorycraft, but what could that mean for the world around us? What could that mean for the world of Verra? Are there going to be corrupted or twisted or tainted versions of the wildlife? Maybe things will become more difficult inside of there. Maybe they'll become mutated. It's all theory craft. I have no idea, but really strong implications there as to what could come from these corrupted zones. And that reference is week 1, entry 1 reference. The worst thing that the Harbingers brought was not the others, but the corruption that they spread. It twists and distorts everything that it touches. It whispers in the ears of men and guides their hands towards terrible ends. There does not seem to be a means to stop it. Our prayers do nothing. Our spells are ineffective. The awful truth is that the others could simply watch as we burned Verra to ashes ourselves. So there's a quote about these Harbingers. Now, this huge quote right here, this is actually what Steven just said over on that last stream. So I'm not going to read this one. It's got a lot of information about these corrupted zones, but it's what we just heard him talk about. And thank you for the 4th out of 5th super chat towards our super chat goal. She says, don't forget to like and subscribe. I appreciate you, Ange. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. Guys, you make sure that you never miss an upload. Click that subscribe button. You're a free-range human. You don't have to ring the bell, but if you do, then you'll be notified about any time that I go live on these live streams. If you join the Cheeky Buggers United Discord, you'll also get notifications there whenever I do an upload or a live stream as well. I don't really have a set schedule. I know I'm kind of all over the place. I'll kind of just do a live stream normally early afternoon whenever there's news that comes out and people just know to watch. Oh, hey, there was an announcement. I'm gonna pay attention to the podcast to see if something's gonna pop up there. Also, water check, and she helps us to absolutely just smash that goal. I'm gonna take your advice and hydrate really quick, and then we're gonna continue down with some more information we have here about these Harbingers. One moment. All right. Thank you, Ange, for those super chats. Really appreciate you. Thank you for the water check. I want to pull up this picture here because this is pretty cool. What? File cannot be displayed. Why not? Damn. Can I refresh it? Is it going to work? Aha, there we go. This looks freaking awesome. Pigro says, are they already in the game? They're not in the game yet. So the time frame for these was they started on the 2nd, and they're going to be doing updates every Tuesday at 10 a.m. until they're done implementing these. They'll probably come down for an undisclosed amount of time. And November 18th is when they're hoping that all of this stuff, all of these different dynamic events will be fleshed out and in-game. We do have the lawless POIs, which they said are tied to these. It's where these lawless zones will flare up, but we don't have any effects of the corruption as far as I know in the game just yet. We did see the old ones, which was a big demonic overlord demon. Make sure you check my Apocalypse, the End of the World stream that I did. It was really, really cool to see all of those bosses and stuff, but the old one, the ancient one, whatever it was called, the corrupted one, I can't remember exactly, the big demon boss, that thing was really cool to see. But here is an example of what we might be able to expect with these corrupted zones. We have a red mist in the air. You have these growths coming out of the ground. Maybe they're harvestable, maybe they're not. I'm not too sure. There's like tendrils coming out of the ground. Really awesome vibes in these zones. And again, these are PVX zones, so they're going to have high risk, high reward. They're going to be very interesting to traverse. But that's the first image we have about these Harbingers. Oh, let me close this out. There we go. What is this video? I actually don't remember this. Oh, that's the moons in the night sky. We've already seen the moons and stuff. So this is that paragraph that Steven was just going over. These will spawn lawless zones. And those lawless zones are currently in the game Pigro right now. But these Harbingers, this is kind of like a roadmap. At the beginning, we showed the roadmap, what they're wanting to be adding in the time frame and stuff like that. And they've been very communicative about what's going to be coming with these. Corrupted areas are sources of PVX events that players need to address to stop the spread of corruption and hold back the incursion on the material plane. If players fail to address these incursions within hours of them occurring, the corruption may gain a permanent foothold in the area, which can lead to NPC attacks that could destroy buildings and disable services in surrounding settlements. There you have it. This is where we're starting to get those real implications on the world around us. Services will be disabled, buildings may be destroyed, which will require players to have to rebuild them. This is where alliances and citizenship and all kinds of stuff like that is really going to play a primary role in the development of the world. They say, Stephen says, it may be a very detrimental thing if corruption is not addressed. And that's the intent of corruption, is to present a challenge to the players that if not addressed, it becomes I can never pronounce that word. Exacerbated? I can never pronounce that word. It always messes with my brain. Exacerbated. And a problem over time. It's going to become worse and worse and worse, essentially is what he's saying here. If the corruption is not addressed, who knows how big it can spread. Maybe it can take over a whole zone and it just grows to now where all the surrounding settlements need to keep it at bay. Really, really cool stuff, though, that is going to have a direct impact on the world around us. Corrupted areas can dynamically evolve with the progression of nearby settlements and story arcs. So not only is it going to be dependent on the settlements around them that are evolving, it's also going to have a direct impact on the story and or be impacted by the story arcs that are taking place. Corrupted areas do not confer corruption onto players. Only PvP-related activities lead to player corruption. It's a completely different system, and they want to make sure that people understand that. Completely different system there when you become a corrupted player. They do say, Stephen says, to a degree, your mortal coil, as we call it, or what some might consider a soul from the character's perspective within the story, can be influenced and can be changed into a shape that's more in tune with corruption. And that's through the PvP things that is accomplished by the players. So again, two very different systems. They're not really related to each other in gameplay mechanics, but they may or may not be related to each other in lore. Corrupted areas will likely be impacted less by seasons and weather. And I think they talked about this. Yeah, right here, this quote by Stephen says, when it enters the corrupted state outside of weather, again, these are quotes, so they're worded a little bit different, is actually a quote from Stephen. When it's in the corrupted state, you'll probably see a little bit less of the influence from seasons because it's adopting the corruption, which in and of itself is a form of season. So when it comes to the hues and the weather and things like that, it may have less impacts from the weather because it is kind of its own weather system, so to speak. Corrupted areas will spawn various mobs and resources. Corrupted resources are only available in corrupted areas and during certain story arcs. So certain resources may only be available during certain events or during certain story arcs and things like that, making them a little bit more rare, but still widely available because there's going to be different points around the world where these can flare up. Then they talk about the Shattered Moon quite a bit because that has to do with the Harbingers as well. This one is interesting. I did want to touch on this. The Light Pact. The Light Pact was, they say it past tense, was an alliance of the Order of the Seven, created by the four major races of Verra in order to solve the mystery of the Harbingers. Even though these orders are from different temples and religions of the primary gods, which again, each of these has their own page, like these primary gods, these are 10 deities in Ashes of Creation, formed the pantheon of gods that exist in the realm outside of the material plane. Huge lore implications here. Their goal is to work together to subvert the aspirations of the others and the ancients, and those who seek to pervert the essence through the means of corruption. So that's what this order, this Light Pact, this Order of Seven, and these 10 of the Pantheon seek to protect the world of Verra. They say even though they have different focuses, a quote from Stephen, even though they have different focuses and reasons why their followers worship specific gods, at the end of the day, they're all a pantheon of good. So all of these different 10 deities and their followers, they are still good in nature. So there's a reason for them to work together to subvert the goals and or aspirations of the others and the ancients. Now we know a little about the ancients. I'm really curious about these others. I want to do a deep dive into what these others and these ancients might be. And those who seek to pervert the essence is capable through the means of corruption. So all of them have kind of a reason to want to work together. There are key individuals within the Light Pact, and within the religions that have longer objectives that tie into overarching meta narratives in terms of reasons to return to Verra. So it's basically just setting the tone that maybe some of these Pantheon, maybe some of these Light Pact individuals may be returning in lore, and or we'll be able to see them in game, potentially, maybe. I don't know. And then there are these diary entries. How do you pronounce that? Dilia's diary? There is a lot. I'm just going to scroll through this. This could be information that we do a deep dive into the diary alone. We could do lore readings of all of these right here. It could be its own entire podcast, but tons and tons and tons of information in these diaries. And then the Ashes of Creation Apocalypse lore. Check this out. Chapter 1, the Exodus, Week 1, Entry 1, Cry Havoc, goes into its own lore readings. Entry 2, Entry 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Week 2, Entry 1 through 7. Week 3, Entry 1 through 7. Week 4, Entry 1 through 7. Goes on to Week 5, Week 6, Week 7. Look at this. Week 8, Week 9, 11, 12, 13 week. Look at this. Week 17. Repeat of Week 5 entries. So they repeat, it looks like, actually, but there was 24 weeks. It looks like 12 weeks of actual new content. So all of that could be broken down in a lore podcast, but there is tons and tons and tons of information. But that's what we know about the Harbingers so far. That's what we know about the content that's going to be coming about with these next updates. There's the timeline on it for you guys. Tons and tons and tons of information here. Really exciting stuff to dive into. I'm super excited to see how these Harbingers are going to affect the world around us. I cannot wait to get my hands on these systems and test them out in game. I'm going to be bringing more gameplay for you guys. I know I haven't done a lot of gameplay once Phase 3 has come out, but that's because I've been very ingrained in the development of Vexhelm and our clan and our community, helping people to get their hands on the game and figure out how to play rather than making content. I'm a community builder first and foremost. That's what I primarily am about. I use YouTube as a means of monetization, first and foremost, but also to be able to bring you guys information that we can look back on in the future, to be able to reference things. We do roleplay videos and stuff like that as well. It's just a fun thing that I like to do here on the side as well, but I'm really a community builder first and foremost. So my community will always come first, and that's every Cheeky Bugger over on the Cheeky Buggers United Community Discord server. And if you guys would like to join that community, you can type !Discord in chat. But I'm really looking forward to bringing some gameplay videos on some streams and stuff on these Harbinger concepts as they get implemented in game. I'm super excited to see the darker side of Verra. Those things always are of interest to me. I love seeing the dark sides of, dark portals and creepy dark areas of the worlds and stuff like that, because the Order of the Blood Brothers, as always, will stand in the gap between that darkness and the free and innocent people of Verra, who the darkness seeks to consume. We will stand in that gap. We will shield them. Vexhelm, or wherever we set home as in the future, will always be a bastion for every refugee who has been harmed, maimed, where the corruption has spread. We are there to help everybody around us, all of the citizens of Vexhelm currently, and all of the citizens of Verra. That is what the Order of the Blood Brothers stands for. We are chaotic good in nature, and if you guys would like to join the Order of the Blood Brothers across any games that we play, whether it be PAX Day, Ashes of Creation, Star Citizen, you name it. We have games, we have game servers for it, and also guilds, clans, orgs, and things like that. If you'd like to join us on our adventures into the unknown, come on over to our website, type !Website in chat. You guys will get a link over to www.cheekybugger.net where you can fill out your very own application. I got through a bunch of the applications recently. There was like 6 or 7 of them. There is one that's still marked pending. If your application is marked pending, you have to send me a message on Discord, and we have to find a time where we can sit down and get to the vetting process. But guys, let me know down in the comment section what you think about the Harbingers, what you think about the direction that Ashes of Creation is going. I'm really excited to see how these pan out in game. And it sounds like we don't have all that long to wait. We're getting weekly updates on Tuesday at 10 a.m., bringing more and more into the world of Verra about these Harbingers. November 18th, probably when we'll get to see more of a complete vision for the Harbingers, but I'm really looking forward to every single update that's coming our way. It's been a blast. This has been such a breath of fresh air. Steven, thank you and your team for working so hard on such an awesome game. Thank you for having the transparency that you do when you sit down and you do these podcasts. And I've seen you've reached out to other podcasts to chat with them and stuff like that. Maybe in the future, after I become more ingrained into the world of Verra and Ashes of Creation, maybe I'll be able to get some interviews with you guys, because I love to do live interviews where there's nothing scripted. It's just by the seat of our pants. It'd be a lot of fun to do that with you guys. We will see what the future holds, but I've been having a blast in Ashes of Creation. If you guys have as well, let me know down in the comments section. If you're watching this in the future, come on over and hang out with us. We'd love to see you guys. Love to see you in the next live stream. Make sure you guys are subscribed so you never miss an upload. Huge shout out to all my channel members. Thank you guys for all the continued support. Thank you for smashing my first stream back. You guys have absolutely just smashed that super chat goal. I really do appreciate that. I know I wasn't gone for very long, but it felt like an eternity, right? I missed hanging out with you guys and doing these live streams and stuff. So hopefully we can get back into a little more regular cadence now that I'm back in town. Pickle says, thank you, Void. Absolutely. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for hanging out with me on your afternoon here, spending a little bit of time with me. It was forever, Ange says. Oh, come on now. Welcome home, she says. It was just a couple days. It was just a couple days. It couldn't have been that bad. But I'm really looking forward to getting back into Ashes. I know it's only been a couple days, but I cannot wait to hop in, to see what has changed, to check on the node, to get back to grinding and leveling and getting access to our new spells. I'm looking forward to all of the new stuff that's coming. I really am looking forward to doing a deep dive into the Underdark area, whatever they call it, that underground area. These Harbingers, we're going to be diving deep into this lore potentially. Let me end this poll before we end the stream here. Let's see how many people voted. 24 votes. 91% of 24 people would like to see a lore podcast, and 8% said that they would not like to see a lore podcast. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people right there alone. Just if this is just sample size of one, obviously, that would love to see a podcast. I'll do my best. I got a lot of stuff going on with the community, getting people settled. There are new people who are picking up the game that I want to make sure they have a good experience as their first time in, because it's very overwhelming. Like Crash, I want to help give you a better experience so you can better understand the systems of the game. We have a lot of other people in our community who are adopting over to Ashes of Creation as well as the development ramps up, and well, eventually it will wrap up as well. But as it ramps up, the development over there at Ashes of Creation, I want to make sure that people are having a much easier time adopting over, because it is a learning curve, you know. But thank you guys for spending your afternoon with me. I'm going to go stretch my legs. I'm going to enjoy the crisp weather that's coming our way. My favorite time of year is autumn. It's fall. I love Halloween. I love all spooky things. I love, going to the corn mazes and stuff like that. I am going to be doing another little meet and greet thing for anyone who's in the area. Richardson's Farm is a great place to hang out and do all kinds of country bumpkin type things. They have pumpkin chunkin' where you can chuck pumpkins off. They have the world's largest corn maze. This year it's going to be a haunted attraction. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to let you guys know over on the Discord when we're going to be going there. For anybody who's in the area and wants to come out, just like we did for the Bristol Renaissance Fair, if anyone's in the area and you guys want to come out there, maybe we'll have some little giveaways and things like that. We'll have some fun and we'll enjoy our time out at Richardson's. But I'll let you guys know, hopefully it's going to be short notice, but at least you'll know for next year what times we typically go to these events. They're a ton of fun. Richardson's is a really, really great place. They do like pig races. They got, again, the world's largest corn maze, and this year they're going to have 4 haunted attractions in there. It's going to be a ton of fun. So look forward to seeing you guys there if anyone's able to make it out there. But that's going to do it for this stream, guys. That's what we can look forward to with the Harbingers, a little tiny taste of the lore and what we can expect coming in the future. But that's going to do it for me for this one, guys. Until I see you all in the next one. Bye for now.
The night descends with shadows deep. In blood heaven, no souls asleep. The blood moon rises in crimson light, casting its light upon the night. Winds howl through the hollow trees, a whispering chant carried on the breeze. Under the blood moon in Bloodhaven skies, darkness awakens and the dead arise. Wolves in the distance, the witch's song. In Bloodhaven streets the night belongs. Lanterns flicker, casting ghastly forms. In the cemetery something stirs and storms. The graves crack open, their secrets revealed. In Bloodhaven no fate is sealed. A chill creeps in through stone and bone, as spirits of the lost make their presence known. Under the blood moon in Bloodhaven skies, darkness awakens and the dead arise. Wolves in the distance, the witch's song. In Bloodhaven streets the night belongs. Through cobble streets, footsteps fade. Ghostly hands reach from the grave. No mercy here in the blood moon's glow. Bloodhaven's light is all you'll know. Under the blood moon in Bloodhaven skies, darkness awakens and the dead arise. Wolves in the distance, the witch's song. In Bloodhaven streets the night belongs. Beneath the blood moon's gaze the shadows sway. In Bloodhaven's light the night will stay.